Raven is one of the coolest characters in Tekken. From the Blade and Matrix inspired OG to the dreaded and take no shit master, the modern day ninja is one of Tekken's cult classic and beloved characters. At the top level of play, Raven has always been a niche pick, a character with depth and style who needs perfect precision and timing to strike with their swift and evasive counter hit tools and intimidating sweeps. Raven can be played evasively with some of the best keep out attacks in the game, or offensively with their snake dash and a variety of scary mix-ups. Let's take a look back at the character's highs and lows and celebrate the players who are able to master Raven's unconventional style in tournament play. Welcome to another episode of Pro Tekken History. Raven starts out as an unsurprisingly complex specialist character. Compared to the overpowered and easily accessible top tiers in 5.0, it's hard to see any reason to invest the time in mastering Raven. But he has a lot of juice in this game that lies below the surface. In neutral, his strengths are in his lows. Both down back 4 and quarter circle forward 3+4 are launchers and both have strong Oki. The Oki off of quarter circle forward 3+4 is especially potent, as the opponent needs to stay down to take a grounded hit if they don't want to be hit in the back, and then Raven can either go for a second guaranteed grounded hit or predict how the opponent wants to get up and go for low risk, high reward extra damage. Quarter circle forward 3+4 also pairs well with his quarter circle forward 4 as a low mid launching mix up. When Raven does launch you, he can hurt like a truck. If Raven dares to go for the multiple vampire knee juggles which require perfect execution and awareness of range and axis. More on that in a moment. While Raven has great lows, his mid pokes leave a lot to be desired. His down forward 1 is uniquely bad as it's 14 frames, a frame slower than the standard. He doesn't have many other pokes to compensate this either. He has down back 2-1 which is mid high or can be stopped to go into back to mix ups, and while his 2-4 is essentially his magic 4 as a 10 frame string with a 3 follow up on counter hit, it's high and -12, meaning it has to be used very sparingly. In fact, in 5.0 neutral, most Ravens just use 4-3 mix-ups, as they can either hit confirm the launch or block confirm to finish the string with a mid or low. The mids most Ravens will be trying to set up for is his risky down forward 4, launch punishable but will launch crouches and is well standing to, a counter hit launcher that's a great button against opponents who get intimidated at the snake step mix-up. Raven's key issue, aside from being unorthodox and high execution, is that many of his best buttons come with some kind of risk. However, the reward can be massive, which is how Raven scares and conditions opponents. And if Raven can bait a whiff, then on wall stages you might be saying goodbye to 3/4 of your health bar. I mentioned whiff punishing because Raven would rather launch a whiff with forward 3 than actually use his block punishes. He has a great 8 frame punish, but that's all he gets until 14, and then his fastest launcher being a tight 2 button input at 16 frames is not great. Again, Raven demands ninja-esque skill and reflexes. However, when Raven does launch, the round may just be over like that. He has incredible wall carry and damage with his multiple knee juggles. The juggles being shown are the standard, but if the opponent is off axis to the right, Raven will need to do shorter juggles to adjust. Finally, this is very situational, but if Raven gets a clean wall splat, he can actually do a resplatting infinite. It requires great timing and awareness of where the wall is for the next splat, and it's not quite as easy as Steve's infinite, but if Raven gets lucky, he can touch of death on walled stages. So yeah, pick an infinite. Raven likes to be evasive, so his strongest matchups are against characters who struggle to catch him stepping, like Fang and Garmyu, and his weakest matchups are against characters who easily punish him, like Heihachi and Steve, or who are stronger at the range game, like Nina. Having relatively bad matchups against 3 of the top 5 isn't great. Raven players have to alter their playstyle to counter the matchup, playing a compact, careful poking game or wild-ranged evasive keep-out. They need knowledge of what the opponent can and will do to punish Raven for his shenanigans, and which of those shenanigans counter the opponent's best tools. It's not undoable, but the Raven player needs to play out of their mind to clutch those unfavorable matchups. Again, Tekken 5 suffers from poor tournament archiving, but a few legacy players scored very strong results. Korea's Holman got a respectable second at Isu Theme Park, the Raven legend Tissuemon tied 3rd at SBO 2005, and before Dinosaur was ever a Brian main, he was doing bits with Raven and won Ultimate Tournament 6 in Paris. Raven didn't change very much from 5 to DR. His best Oki tool in quarter circle forward 3+4 was nerfed and he lost his wall infinite, but he still kept his amazing whiff punishment, damage and carry. He still has great wall pressure and respectable keep out. The main issues keeping Raven back are that his big weaknesses in mid pokes and block punishment have been practically untouched. He has a more consistent 16 frame launch in down 4-2 now, but that's it. Even though Raven's in roughly the same spot as he was in 5.0, his usage went slightly down as the meta shifted towards a more consistent, well-rounded characters such as the Mashivas, Steve, Brian, Anna, Marduk and even Jack. Raven has a niche, but it's hard to justify maining him for tournaments where consistency is crucial. Raven continues to get a few decent placements. Notice how both Holman and Tissuemon aren't on this list as they swap to stronger characters though. That being said, Dinosaur and Kyoko Manji got back-to-back 5th places at Ultimate Tournaments 8 and 9 respectively, while Korea's Kijin was invited to only the best and placed 2nd with Raven, Kazuya and Steve only losing to his contemporary Soyeon Doi. Raven remains a very complex character in Tekken 6. His poking style isn't bad, but it's unorthodox. His 13 frame mid poke is down back 2-1, a non-jailing mid-high string that can be stopped at down back 2 for back turn mix-ups. His down forward 1 is 14 frames, used more as a tracking tool and for its good frames on block and hit rather than as a fast mid poke. He has good poking range with moves like a hit confirmable forward 2-3, a jailing 3-3 and forward 4 which can only be punished on tip range by Jack. Raven also has excellent lows in the counter hit launching unseeable down back 4 and his quarter circle forward 2 launcher, which in this game has a just frame version that makes it -13 on block. And of course, his juggle potential is as insane as ever. So why is he still B tier? Raven has these great tools and more, but it's hard to set them up. Raven's tools are hard to use in neutral, and he doesn't have any pokes that pressure the opponent on block. One way high level Raven is played is with snake dashing to intimidate the opponent, threatening Raven's powerful launches and sweeps that can come out in an instant. This makes the opponent panic, press, and that's when counter hit while standing 2 or high crushing down back 4 start working. But this only works up close. At a distance, the opponent can simply keep Raven out and enforce a life lead, or outpoke Raven and force the Raven player into trying to steal their turn back with a risky parry, risky sweep, or his risky 2-4, which is still high and -12 on block. Raven is still very strong at what he does, but players with strong mental fortitude and awareness of the matchup can effectively play around Raven, which greatly weakens his game. Raven's block punishment is better in some ways, thanks to his new 15 frame back 2-4, which does a nice chunk, albeit not a full launch, but it's also worse as all jabs are now 10 frames instead of 8. Having a 14 frame crouch launcher is very nice in Tekken 6 though, due to the low parry damage nerf. Raven has a ridiculous amount of juggle potential, and we're going to be here quite a while as we go through all of his juggles. His counter hitting launches such as down forward 3, while standing 2, down back 4 and full crouch down forward 3+4 are extremely important, and it's even more important to recognize when his low sweeps get back counter hit launch so he can maximize his damage. He also gets a guaranteed back 2-4 after back 1 on counter hit. Don't forget to be aware of the axis of juggles, as Raven requires a lot of stepping left to allow those vampire knees to connect as consistently as possible. When Raven carries all the way to the wall, wait for the opponent to slump low so that the first hit of his 4-3+4 Shaklam stream deals grounded damage. Of course, I'll be repeating this later in the Tekken 7 section, but in the meantime, enjoy the rest of these cool juggles. Raven's a little more balanced than Tekken 6 in terms of matchups. He has one notably strong matchup, punishing the capos with low hitting moves like forward 4 and forward 2 for their stances, and one notably bad matchup in Jack, who is the only character that can consistently punish Raven's forward 4. Here's the kicker. For the first time in this series, we have no recorded results to show you. That doesn't mean there are no results. Players like Tissuemon The Phantom and El Negro, among others, have certainly collected trophies, medals and buried bodies in the shadows. But at your EVOs and your MLGs, at your ultimate tournaments and any well-archived major, there were no Ravens in top 8 that I could find for Tekken 6. This does not mean Raven's a bad character, just a seldomly used specialist character whose potential is difficult to consistently utilize in short sets.
Oh man. The nerves may be
Thinking about changing
a little bit. How does that make sense?
Thinking about changing.
You should.
Really?
No,
you only saying that because you from the house.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying just from what I've seen.
Exactly. Oh, you were getting it. My dude Gio is evolving.
No.
God. Gio's evolving.
No.
Here
we go.
Nah, man. You got to stick to your guns. You got to stick to your guns.
He refuses to go quietly into the night. Oh.
And
Random
it's gonna cost
4-4-3.
if he get that wall, it's gonna cost him.
Oh no.
And just like that.
Despite not changing that much between Tekken 6 and Tag 2, Raven benefits a lot as a specialist character. It's easier to justify slotting a mix-up heavy, high-risk, high-reward character onto a team when he can be paired with a more fundamentally solid character, for example. However, Raven was more frequently paired with other ninjas to exemplify that style of play, but we'll get to that in a moment. Raven's core game hasn't changed much. His standing block punishment got small buffs with a natural 2-4 and his new 12 frame 4-1. He got a new homing move in forward 3-2, minus 14 on block, but you don't have to commit to the full thing if you don't want to. However, Raven's arguable biggest buff is his juggle synergy. Raven is one of the lucky characters who has a tag launcher that can be used mid-juggle. His shadow stance 3+4 but now shoots the opponent high up into the air. This means almost any launch from Raven can lead into a tag and to red life being sapped, and can also lead to some funky juggle potential if you want to try and find it. Here we go, some slightly healthier tournament results. The most consistent and successful results from Venezuela's El Negro, whose name I said so much I won't be surprised if his video gets demonetized, who placed 3rd at Ultimate Tournament 14 in Paris, 2nd at Final Round 17 in Atlanta, and 2nd again 2 years later at Final Round 19. El Negro had 2 trademark teams, his Jinpachi Wang Older Man team and his Raven Kunimitsu Ninja team. Raven was El Negro's most versatile character, however, as he also used Raven with Jinpachi and Lars in some tournament sets. The Phantom also made top 8 at Ultimate Tournament 14 with his Raven Wang team, while a year later at Ultimate Tournament 15, Kyoko Manji with the trademark Raven Yoshimitsu team tied for 5th place. Kyoko also placed 3rd at Red Fight District 4 in Amsterdam. The legend Tissuemon makes a return to the known tournament results 9 years after he first saw him back in Tekken 5. He placed tied 5th at Red Fight District 3 with his trademark Raven and Marduk, or at the same tournament a player with the sickest name I've ever heard, Shichi Saiken Chariot, made top 8 with Raven and Kinomitsu.
That's it in his face.
Yes, Rage.
Tissuemon playing very passive and just
There we
goes
go.
for the down 4.
We are going to a final round here. It all comes down to this round. Who's going to take ultimate fighting? Oh my God.
Down 4-2. This is going to go to the wall. Definitely season 3 changes. This is where Tissuemon does not want to be. Down 2.
This is
He
it.
catches it. While running 2. Big,
Pressure.
nice break on the throw. Clutch break. Down 2. Nice block.
Yes. Oh my God. He got
He gets the range drive. Here we go.
What's he going to get from it? Doesn't get the wall splat. Goes for the low. Doesn't finish it though. Oh my God.
Down
He's coming
2.
right down to the wire.
Stops it. No, down to miss.
What's
I don't know what they stopped it. Down 4. What's to know? Tissuemon.
Tissuemon with the clutch. With the slow.
In Tekken 7, Raven faded into the shadows. Instead, Raven's master, a femme fatale, came into the scene. However, Master Raven had very few differences to her apprentice. Master Raven outright teleports instead of Raven's phasing, but aside from losing some stylish phasing mix-ups, the difference is cosmetic. Master Raven's main buff comes from the incredible wall carry and furthermore, wall damage she has access to. Getting to the wall can mean total doom for the opponent. The issue comes with how to do it. Master Raven players tend to either favour the Tissuemon style, with aggressive advancing mid-low mix-ups and counter-hit threats with the Shadow Step, and others favour the Phantom style, focusing more on Master Raven's keep-out tools such as up 4, quarter circle forward 4, and other strong moves that are excellent at punishing overextending opponents. Otherwise, she still feels quite similar to Raven, an unconventional poking style that isn't as head-on as broader types such as Miguel or Armor King, and subpar block punishing with no 15-frame launcher. While Master Raven's style certainly attracted some new fans, her substance is mostly the same. Master Raven's block punishment hasn't changed that much yet again. From Season 2, she gained a decent chunk of damage with her 15-frame forward 4 that guarantees a free hit, or by using a rage drive, a full juggle. Otherwise it's very similar, decent damage up to -12 and a 14-frame crouch launcher, but only a 16-frame standing launch. Her wall carry in the early seasons was some of the best in the game, and her wall damage remains exceptional. Nobody likes getting carried to the wall against Master Raven. However, most of the juggles that I'm showing now are the max damage in the open, which uses seldomly seen screw ender that gives grounded damage. On a walled stage, you'd likely be using other juggles that push towards the wall and sacrifice a little damage for better advantage post-juggle. Master Raven usually has a very set-in-stone game plan, so she doesn't have many especially good or bad matchups. Some especially strong matchups are Eddie and Zhao Yu, as great mids like down back 2-1 and forward 4 are great at knocking them out of their stances. A few of our only bad matchups are Brian, who can use Orbital to beat her Snake Dash mix-up, and Akuma and Eliza, who can use 2D jumps to beat her back turn mix-ups, or just use down 4 to option select punish almost everything. Geese is a slightly easier matchup for Master Raven as she has time to parry in the middle of a lot of Geese's strings. Tissuemon and The Phantom both dominated Europe in Season 1 with their varying Master Raven styles. In 2017 and 2018, Tissuemon was the strongest player in all of Europe, and that can be seen in his incredible results that are capped off with an incredible 4th place finish in the 2017 Tekken World Tour Finals. Two other Master Raven players, America's Congo Jack and Korea's Go Attack, also made top 8s at one TWT event apiece. Master Raven slightly fell behind with power creep. Although her new back turn power crush was a welcome addition to make opponents respect her back turn pressure, the rest of Master Raven's buffs were fairly niche and aren't exactly game changing. She also got a huge nerf with the loss of her magic 4 juggle from standing 4 alone. Now Raven players have to commit to 4-1, which is a high non-jailing string that leaves her in back turn, can be very scary against sharp players. Overall, Master Raven became a bit more of a niche peak from Season 2 onwards, still with amazing strapes, but very apparent weaknesses as well. When Season 2 was active, you can already see how the worldwide meta changed. Being the best in Europe wasn't enough. You needed to be among the best in the world to make top 8 at majors with how stacked the competition was. Tissuemon and The Phantom only had a single online placement each in Season 2, and for the record, we're not counting dojos because of how abundant they are. The only other Raven to place was Canada's Spooler, the highest placing home hero Canadian at Toronto's Electric Clash in 2019. Master Raven didn't change much in Season 3. This was the season with the biggest power creep so far, and although she got a bunch of small, nice damage and frame buffs, they were only enough to keep her in pace with the rest of the cast. Suddenly everybody had good wall carrying damage, which was one of Master Raven's biggest strengths before this season. Now they're just above average. She's by no means in a bad spot, but Master Raven is not a consistent top tier character, and the results prove it. There's only half a year's worth of Season 3 placements to look at before lockdowns came into place. With competition at its tightest and Tissuemon close to retirement, the only placement was from Brazil's Leo Zaves, who burst onto the world scene with a huge win at TXT 2019. Leo is one of the hot South American players, along with names like Abel, Nene and Roy Nietzsche, who we're hoping to see more of on the world stage in the near future. While we haven't had much time with Season 4 to see how the meta has really been affected by the changes, Master Raven was one of the characters who seemed largely unaffected. She got a great new counter hit string in 114, which can also be used as a wall ender for Okazeme, and her Undertaker throw can now be used in backturn for unseeable throw mix-ups. These are nice to haves, as well as other very minor tweaks, but the character's playstyle has been largely unaffected, and I have to mention, Master Raven is one of the few characters in the games with still no 15 frame standing launcher. Looking back at Raven's history since Tekken 5, I think they've always been in a great spot. Raven has never been and may never be one of the best characters in the game, but outside of rewarding loyal Raven players, I don't know if Raven should be. Raven's appeal comes from being a specialist pick, spending a great deal of time with the character to understand how to use him effectively in competitive play, and it is an excellent example of a blank canvas character, whose tools you can use to paint your own playstyle in the game and make your own mark. With Tissuemon's retirement, there may never be another Raven player who has both the skill and the consistency to make a run for a world championship, or the endurance to claim a super major. But don't forget, Raven lurks in the shadows and strikes when you least expect it. Thanks for watching.